Okay, so the patch is glued on now. Now we're ready to sew it on. So I got some of that thread that I mentioned in the article, Gooderman. It's the high strength stuff, so you can see it's a thicker thread than your standard thread that you would buy. I like this better for sewing because it doesn't knot up and it's stronger. Also, it shows more, and I use white thread intentionally so that you can see it. Just because I like the look, but if you like black, then that's fine too. So I pull a length about as wide as my arms. Can't really see it on here, but just basically your arm span length. You better to have more thread than not enough thread. If you don't have enough thread, then you're going to have to tie it off and do multiple pieces, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. So try and get enough thread to do it in one shot. You get your sewing needle. It's this guy here. You can see I use kind of a decent sized needle just because it's easier to thread. It's got a nice big eye on it. And I pull, about that much thread through. And before I start, I want to tie a knot off on the back end of it so that it doesn't pull through when I'm starting my stitch. So the way I do that is I just kind of tie a really big, loose, sloppy knot at the back end just by running the thread over itself. Nothing too fancy. Just put it around 4 or 5 times, something like that. And then I just kind of gently bunch it all up. Like that. So you have like a pretty big knot so that it's not going to pull through, even if I pull it snug. Sometimes if you tie the knot too small, it will come right up through. That's probably not going to be a problem here just because I'm sewing on top of a back patch that's already on denim, but if you got thin denim, thin patch, sometimes it'll come right through, like some of these canvas ones. So, get our thread, and I always start from the back of the jacket and in the bottom left hand corner, and that's because I'm right handed, and that way the thread is always kind of to my left and I'm working to my right. But if you're left handed, then you probably want to go the opposite way. So, just gonna go underneath here and find the corner. Pretty much the corner, and come up through like that. Now, what I'm going to show here is my method of sewing. That's not really the proper way of doing it, but I just think it looks cool. So, I mean, if you want to learn how to sew properly, there's all sorts of videos and stuff on YouTube. You can do that, but this is how I do it. So I sew to the outside of the patch. There we go. So my stitches look like that. And usually I do a couple right off the start. And that's just to get the thread kind of in place so it's not going to move anywhere for my next step. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to tie my thread off. And what this does is it makes it so that the thread, it can't come loose. So sometimes eventually over time, you're wearing your patch on a vest that you're in a pit with and it's getting rubbed and whatever, that knot can work its way through, and then eventually your whole thing unravels. So by tying it off, it stops it. It can't unravel from that point. And you want to do that both at the beginning and the end of your stitch. So you're going to come up like you normally would, and then what I do is I stick it back in on the same side within the patch right next to where the thread came up. I don't know how easily you can see that. And then you pull it through, but not all the way. Leave yourself a loop, a decent sized loop. Then you come back up through right in between where you had those two threads. So you can see it's like right about there. You want to, before you pull the thread through taut, it's good to get this grabbed in your hand so that it doesn't want to twist up and stuff. Pull it till this starts to cinch down on you. And then what you're going to do is go wrap around behind the loop, bring the needle through. Oh, I'm messing up here. Sorry. I'm using the wrong hands. It makes it easier when I do it with the right hands. Okay, so I'm going to wrap around the back of the loop, and then this becomes your loop. and you cinch it down. And then you're going to repeat. So you've got this big loop, you wrap around the back, and this time you just pull it straight down. And it's knotted in place. And we can do that one more time just so you can see it better. So it's not going to hurt anything. You can do it a bunch of times if you really want. Okay, so again, you got two really close together like this. Then you come up right nearby. Kind of try and be in between if you can. Okay, so there's our loop. We're going to go around the back of the loop. And then you're holding this side of the thread as your needle, and you pull the bottom part to pull the first loop down and tighten. Then your second loop, you're going to go back around behind it, and this time you just pull the side with the needle and pull it tight. That's basically it for that. So let's try and quickly sew to the corner here, and I'll show you what I do in the corners, and then we'll just kind of cut ahead and I'll show you the finishing tie off on the back end. And I try and keep my threads decently close together. I mean, some people have more patience than I do, so they got a really tight sewing pattern. I'm not that patient, so I don't. And a lot of times too, I'll start really tight and neat, and then the further I get around the patch, the sloppier it gets, because, well, I get impatient. So we can stop this for now, and then I'll show you what I do at the corner, and then I'll finish it off. So you can stop that.